Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. The movie begins with Frank, an assassin for a criminal organization in Styria, known for his cold-bloodedness and ruthlessness toward his enemies. He gets out of his car, and prepares to enter a restaurant through the back door. As soon as a man opens the door, he shoots him. Then Frank goes inside, and starts shooting all the men, who apparently belong to a rival criminal group. After killing all his targets, Frank grabs a briefcase, and returns to his car. Next, Frank meets his boss, who tells him that he must complete one last mission, before he can take a vacation. Frank opens the file, and sees a woman's face. He states he does not kill children or women, however, the boss tells him that he only needs to kidnap her, not kill her. The boss reveals Marlene is the daughter of a rival criminal, and only wants to scare him. Frank accepts the job, but the boss says he seems nervous. Frank justifies saying it is because of the previous mission, in which he killed an innocent person. He then takes the file, and returns to the car. Subsequently, Frank follows Marlene's movements. She leaves work, goes to get flowers, and he follows her to a cemetery. She takes the flowers to her mother's grave, and tries to talk to her. She talks about how her father abandoned him, and how her mother was the only person close left. Later at night, Frank follows Marlene to a nightclub, where she works as a bartender. As he watches her, two men try to woo her, but she promptly rejects them. The men insist, offering her a drink, but she refuses, saying she does not have time. Later, Marlene prepares to go home after finishing work. The two men from earlier stop her, and take revenge for rejecting them earlier. One of them hits her in the face, at which point, Frank gets out of the car to help her. He beats the man who hit Marlene, and chases the two away. He notices she is hurt, and offers her a ride in his car, which she accepts. He tells her he needs to treat the wound as soon as possible, but realizes that he does not know how. She welcomes him into her apartment, and he treats her wound. Soon, she has an emotional breakdown, but he does not know how to console her, and simply stays by her side. She falls asleep, and he stays awake next to her. The next morning, he wakes up and realizes that he is still in her apartment. She offers him coffee, and they start talking. Before leaving, she invites him to go for a movie together, and he accepts. A few days later, Frank picks up Marlene in his car, and together they go to the movies. Later in the evening, they stay outside, and observe nature. As they talk, she reveals her father abandoned her when she was just a child. In addition, she suspects that he is part of a criminal organization, but she is not certain. On the other hand, he reveals his parents died in a car accident when he was a child, but he is now past that. Marlene comforts him, and Frank feels the warmth of love for the first time in a long time. Then he takes her home. She thanks him for everything, and finally they kiss. He is already in bed with her, continuing the evening. The next morning, he notices his hand has stopped shaking since he has been dating Marlene. He goes outside for a walk, and remembers the mission, to kidnap Marlene and take her to his boss. He realizes he is falling in love, and returns to Marlene's apartment, and finds the door open. He pulls out his gun, and realizes that there is an intruder inside. Soon, he finds a henchman of his boss, Felix, who informs him they have already kidnapped Marlene. Frank talks on the phone with the boss, who scolds him for forgetting about the mission. The boss tells him to take a vacation, to recover and start thinking like before again. The henchman lashes out at Frank, because he basically betrayed them with a girl. Felix advises him to forget about Marlene, and return to them when he is fit again. Frank is now in a difficult position. He has to decide whether to leave Marlene behind and concentrate on work, or to save her. He looks at a picture of her, loads his gun, and leaves. He goes to the boss's mansion, but the guard tells him that he is not allowed to enter. However, he tells the guard to tell Felix they need to talk. Frank enters the villa's disco, and asks the henchman to see Marlene. However, she turns him down, saying she is currently busy with their boss. Frank intends to go to the boss's office, but Felix tries to stop him. Frank tries to fight him, but Felix knocks him down easily. Frank then pulls out a gun, and points it at him, but suddenly, a girl threatens Frank with a katana. He then lowers the gun, and Felix throws another punch at him, and reveals that everyone considers him a traitor, and the boss is upset about this. Moreover, he instructs his henchmen to beat Frank severely, if he tries to get to the girl. Thus, Felix kicks him out of their group, and tells him that if he wants to survive, he must forget about the girl. Frank is taken outside by the guard. Badly injured, he visits his old friend, a hacker, for help. He lets him into the house, although his wife is against it, as she knows Frank and his past. He asks to put him in touch with a woman nicknamed the Empress. Frank reveals that for the past year, he has been working for a person who has been lying to him, to get him to kill innocent people. He states that as he discovered the truth, he began to have panic attacks, and be more nervous than usual. Now he feels like a criminal, just like the people he used to work for, and he wants to change that. Then Frank starts talking about Marlene, and how he fell in love with her. It seemed to him that taking care of her and helping her was the right thing to do. That's why he decided not to kidnap her and take her to his boss. Now, however, she has been captured, and is trapped in the crime boss's mansion, and he wants to rescue her. To sneak inside the well-protected mansion, he needs proper equipment, so he again asks his friend to call the Empress. In the process, his friend's wife overhears the conversation, and becomes excited as she hears him talk about Marlene. So the woman takes Frank to go treat wounds, and tells her husband to call the Empress. He makes the call, and tells Frank that she is ready to meet him in an hour. Before leaving, his friend's wife tells Frank that he and Marlene are invited to meet, if they survive. Frank goes to the meeting point, enters a building, and is taken to the Empress. As soon as he goes inside, some women greet him, indicating that they know him. Soon, a guard brings him to the Empress. He tells her that he needs weapons. However, the previous time she helped him, he killed 6 of her clients. When he reveals that he wants to kill his previous boss, the Empress agrees to help him, and takes him to the weapons depot. Frank takes everything he needs, and leaves. The Empress tells him that if he really wants to use the weapons to kill his previous boss, he will not have to pay for them, and finally, wishes him good luck. Next, Frank is on his way to the mansion, and as soon as he arrives at the parking lot, a guard monitoring the security cameras spots him. The guard immediately goes to Felix, and informs him that Frank, heavily armed, is on his way to the villa's nightclub. Frank grabs a gun, and walks toward the doors of the club. When the security guard sees him coming, he rushes to beat him up, but Frank shoots him right in the head. Felix informs all the other guards of Frank's arrival, and orders them to kill if he does not surrender. Once inside the club, a guard tries to stab Frank, but he kills the guard. When the other guards arrive and start shooting, a shootout breaks out, and Frank kills numerous henchmen. Later, the elderly bartender grabs a gun, and tries to shoot Frank, but the gun is not loaded. The bartender tries to escape, but Frank pursues him. Meanwhile, Felix tries to inform a woman, Tanya, about Frank's arrival. At that moment, Tanya is playing poker in the basement, with the other criminals. Soon, the elderly bartender goes inside in a panic, and falls on the floor. They burst out laughing, but Frank comes in soon after, and starts shooting at them. He hides behind the elderly bartender's body, and throws a grenade, killing all the criminals in the basement. Later, Felix says he must also warn the boss of Frank's arrival. In the process, they must do everything they can to stop him. We see a large group of henchmen walking down the hallway, in an attempt to stop Frank, who soon throws a stun grenade, and starts killing the criminals one by one. After he is done with them, someone throws a knife at him. He turns around, and sees Felix's girlfriend coming with a katana. Frank tells her that he does not want to kill her, he just needs to be taken to Marlene. However, the girl does not intend to let him go without a fight. They start fighting with sharp weapons, and Frank manages to wound her leg. The woman loses her balance, and Frank finally kills her with the blade. Next, Felix discovers his girlfriend has been killed. The guard tries to comfort him, but Felix promptly shoots him. Then, through a microphone, Felix talks to Frank, and tells him that during a mission, he noticed that his hands were shaking. Therefore, Felix is convinced that he can defeat him in a duel. The lights go out, and Frank starts walking down the hallway with his gun. Meanwhile, Felix is arriving, with night vision goggles and a gun. As Frank walks down the hallway, a sudden shot smashes the wall to his right, and he collapses to the floor. Stunned, he quickly gets up, and runs outside. Felix follows him with the gun, and gives him a weapon to start the duel. The two position themselves at some distance, and prepare to grab the weapon, and fire. Fortunately, Frank is faster, and manages to kill Felix, shooting him in the face. Next, Frank finds Marlene in the office of his former boss. Frank sits down, and calls him father. Here it is revealed, in fact, the boss is Frank's father. Frank's mother took her own life, when he was still a child. It turns out Frank hates his father, with all his heart, and he is furious that his mother did not wait for him to grow up, so they could run away, together. His father claims he did everything for him, but Frank says he only used him for his own interests. Frank did not have a normal childhood. He had to spend his time training, instead of having fun, like other children. At one point, his father tries to grab the gun, but Frank promptly shoots him. Marlene hugs Frank, as he apologizes to her. Finally, they leave the mansion together, holding hands. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out.